Hello, everybody. I'm here with Damian Campagnaro.
Yeah.
I was here a few months ago and we did an interview. During the interview that we took, you were telling me about your power units.
Yes, yeah.
And it was sort of kind of beside myself because I always had the understanding that Dave Long was one of the first people to put a bridge rectifier into the power units and the 10-turn dial.
Yeah, potentiometers, yeah.
And Dave was doing that in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But I have to check my history on that, but I think it was like 94, 95, 94, I think, that Dave started making those power units. But come to find out, Damian was doing it in late 80s, very early 90s, like 1990, that you were starting to make power units.
To run off of like a pure sort of DC, I was using a lot of like repurposed like rheostats from like this shop called Active Surplus, and parts like transformers made for electronic industry, like taking them apart and reverse engineering them, like looking at them, thinking like, okay, what makes this so compact and so efficient and so clean, and realizing that the tattoo machines basically ran better off of like a more pure DC, and to use the bridge rectifiers to do that with, and sometimes run off of like this box where I was using the back of it, and I had figured out that I could have a little switch in the back and run off of a motorcycle battery, or flick it over and then run off of the transformer from the wall. So this just basically became a control box with the rectifier and the potentiometer and everything that you would need in it, but more versatile, so you could take it on the road with you, you could tattoo pretty much anywhere with it, right?
And for those of you who might not know what a bridge rectifier is with our power units, exactly, maybe just explain basically what that is.
It like evens out the DC, it basically, it converts AC and fools the machine into thinking that it's getting pure DC, so it smooths out power.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a direct current versus
direct
the alternating current.
Right.
Yeah. And as I was interviewing Damian, he just, to me, he reminded me of Smokey Nightingale.
Oh, really?
He's like a modern day Smokey Nightingale. And
mad scientist.
So I thought it was just such a fascinating part of your personal history that you were kind of making these units before anyone else that I know of. And you were also veering into battery power machines as well.
Yeah, battery power, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, so I was taking like, then again, like repurposed like, watch batteries or 9-volt batteries, and looping them together and creating little battery packs. So you could like, put them on a shelf or put them in your pocket, and if you attach a rheostat to it, you could basically like have a very compact power kit. I think the goal was to do like sort of like vanguard tattooing, to be able to tattoo in the woods somewhere, or like on the road, and not have to rely on. A couple times we were tattooing and there's a power outage and you're in the middle of a tattoo. What do? Battery power is the smoothest power, is the most accessible, power. You can recharge it, you can work with it anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of older guys were using car batteries back in the day, right? They would have a car battery in their cabinet and this very slick, sort of beautiful plate where you just plugged in your equipment, but the actual drive was the car battery. They weren't using the circuitry they weren't using AC plug-in battery. They were using pure DC, which would mean that you wouldn't even need a capacitor in a lot of your machines if you were running pure DC off of the car battery.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Damian had some other tricks up his sleeve. Actually,
yeah,
he made a foot switch.
Yeah, a foot switch. It's like basically like your entire box is on the floor, so you don't have to reach over with dirty glove hands and like adjust your power unit. You're just adjusting on the floor. So you would plug in your your machine, and if you were, you know, get a tattoo or whatever, you could control your. The funny thing about this is that there's no actual readout, so a lot of it is like by experience and by ear.
Yeah.
But you could see how you can like be tattooing and be like, oh, I need to adjust this. I'm gonna go into here and then do this. Okay, it's fancy, you know.
Yeah, and so if you're tattooing somebody's arm, you're here, and then you move into the ditch, you could slow down your machine.
Slow down your
just
machine.
with your foot on the floor. And another point I thought was really cool is when the day that you walked into Tatarama.
Oh yeah, and I had a machine running in my pocket. So I had it plugged into my pocket. So I had a battery pack in my pocket, and I had my old Swinggate National machine, and I said, check this out, guys, and they were looking at me going like, what's it running off of? And I pulled the battery pack out of my pocket.
Yeah. And back then, nobody was using really battery power.
No. But it's funny how history works though, right? Like I was saying, like people used batteries and then gravitated away from them because it was more convenient to use the old like army surplus you know, transformers, those big clunky Spalding boxes that everybody was using. That was just became the industry standard, right?
Sure.
You know, like super, like big rheostat, you know, clunky, huge, and then the move was to like, let's make this more compact. Let's make this, you know, better to use, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I just found it really fascinating.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, and maybe the newer generation of tattooers would be like, I don't care. But I think for us that we grew up using all this stuff.
Power boxes.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating that you were one of the first, or to my knowledge, the first person to start
build your own
building it. And how did you where did you acquire all the knowledge?
My dad is an electrician. He worked for IATSE for the entertainment industry, and he had all the stuff that I needed, and I just plugged him for information and, you know, figured it out.
Okay.
And also just like looking at history books, looking at whether other tattooers were using, like especially the old guys who had like the telephone jacks with like the plate and the giant, beautiful, sort of organized, and then with the undercarriage batteries, made me start to think, well, you could get a smaller battery, and then going to Active Surplus, which was a great place to go, and on Queen Street, they had like a black gorilla out front, it was automated, telling everybody to come in, and they had all just stuff from everywhere, and repurposing like old Zenith, you know, stuff for like made for computers, but you know, or rechargeable phones or whatever, and just realizing you could run off of that, and it was more compact, more precise electronics, better electronics.
That's right. Yeah. So Damian's not only a modern day Smokey Nightingale, he's also one hell of an artist.
Thanks.
If you're in Toronto or you want to come to Toronto and get a tattoo, look him up. Old Hat Tattoo on Instagram.
On Instagram, yes.
And you can see some of his work. It was such a pleasure to interview you.
Yeah,
and
it's great to have you come by.
Yeah, thanks again.
Okay.
Thanks for doing this video.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'll have a whole bunch more of these videos as I'm out and about interviewing people. And I look forward to getting this book out eventually.
Lots of history.
Until then, you know, I'll just keep popping out videos every so often so people can, you know, get a feel for some of the people that I've interviewed throughout this process.